Okay. So today I want to welcome you to the program as we look at the subject of theory of change. Now, the question is, why am I talking about theory of change? The truth is that if you are thinking of getting any kind of funding and you would like to increase your chances of getting funding, and also you want to increase your knowledge about getting funding, then this particular teaching today is extremely important. Theory of change has become a requirement, or is fast becoming a requirement for funders. Funders are asking the grantees to explain to them what their theory of change is. And this has been around for a while, actually, but it's only in recent times that it's becoming more common for people to ask for it. So sooner or later, you are going to be asked to provide a theory of change as part of your application. And it's not something that we can do. It's something that you have to do because of the other benefits that are allied to the process of creating a theory of change. So therefore, I consider this teaching today to be very important. We're probably going to do it in two parts. Probably do part one this month, and then when we come back next month, we'll do a part two of it, and maybe even a part three. I don't know, but I'm not sure that we are going to. In fact, I know we're not going to finish what I've got planned for today at all as an introduction. So let's get straight into the slides for today. So how I want to talk about this evening's program is to ask us first what a theory of change is, and then we're going to then go from there and look at how we would create a theory of change and what that means to us. Can I first of all ask, has anybody heard about theory of change? You can unmute yourself and answer, please. Have you heard about theory of change? Or you can put it in the chat box. Have you heard about theory of change? And if you have heard about it, do you know much about it? Anyone?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Let's move into it. Somebody else has put something in there. Yes. Okay. Do you know much about the theory of change, Owa?
Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. Don't mind me. Theory of change. We have the Maslow theory of change. You know, I know about Maslow. Is a theory of change.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. That talks more about. Okay. Do you want to continue?
No, go on. Go on. That talks more about what?
Is a hierarchy of needs.
Okay.
You know?
Yes. No. Okay. It's different. It's different. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, it's different. As we will see. Well, you might say to me, no, it's not different, but yeah.
Let's listen to you.
Yeah, let's get into it. Actually, most this theory of change that that is being required of us, or that is part of what we're going to be talking about today, is generally in relation to non-for-profit charities and third sector. Although you can use it even as a as a person in your personal life, or you can use it in your business life, but it tends to be applied mostly to the third sector organizations. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing about a theory of change, what I'm going to do today is to first of all give you a definition of what it is. Then I'm going to tell you the usefulness of it. I'm going to tell you the benefits of actually going through the process of a theory of change. Then I'm going to, hopefully, we'll get to where I can talk about the difference between a theory of change, maybe an a logic model, and we will talk about why the theory of change is different and how we can apply it later on as we go on. So let's get started anyway. First thing is to define what a theory of change is. Now, this definition says that a theory of change is a methodology, it's a method, if you like, for planning, participating, adaptive management, and evaluation that is used in companies, so for-profit companies, philanthropies, which is those who give money to for good causes, non-for-profit, which is businesses set up for purpose, international development, which is programs like what will come out of the UN, research, and government sectors to promote social change. So when we talk about social change, it means to address inequalities. It could be inequalities of wages based on people's sex. It could be inequalities of pay based on disabilities. It could be inequalities in terms of those who are disadvantaged. All of the problems we try to address as charities and CICs and limited by guarantees, all those kind of issues, you need a theory of change. Is the method you use to plan, to participate, to evaluate, to deal with, and to improve and to bring about that social change within the people that you want to work with. So, but here is my own definition of what theory of change is. Oops, why did I do that? Let me go back to my slide. Don't know why I did that. Okay, right. Actually, what I could do is to expand this so it's fully covered. Oh, great. Okay, cool. So this is my own definition of a theory of change. A theory of change is a framework. And I know that some of us may be more familiar with that. It's a framework or a useful tool. When I say a tool, it's not necessarily a hand tool for building or something, but it's a business tool. A framework or a useful tool for creating, implementing, and evaluating a planned change. So let me say that again. It's a framework or a useful tool for creating, which is you create a plan, implementing, you execute the plan, and then evaluating, which means you measure whether the planned change that you wanted has been reached or not. So when you are delivering a program to, let's say, the elderly, and you are teaching the elderly how to use social media, for example, then you need to have a plan, right? And you need to see whether that plan, you need to see how you're going to execute that plan. In other words, you might have a plan that says, I'm going to deliver, I think I should deliver maybe certain activities. For example, I might go through what is a Facebook, then I might take them through a Facebook page, then I might take them to YouTube, I might do something like that. Okay, how are you going to execute it? Are you going to be the one training? Are you going to develop a manual for training? Where is it going to happen? What kind of devices are you going to teach them with? Where are you going to get those devices? How long will the trainings be? All those kind of things are in the implementation stage. Then the third part, the evaluation stage, is critical. How well did they learn about the social media, and how well are they now able to log on to Facebook, create a post, and also maybe might be a little bit extreme, and also create a Facebook ad. Well, how well were they able to load up their videos on YouTube? How well did they connect with their friends? Those would be in your evaluation, but you had thought it through from the beginning, because that's one of the things that a theory of change helps you to do. It helps you to create, it helps you to execute, which is to implement the plan. It also helps you to evaluate. Okay, did we reach the goals that we had for this particular change that we plan in the lives of our beneficiaries? Yes or no? So that's my definition. A framework, a useful tool for creating, implementing, and evaluating a planned change. All right. So I'm going to go on before we ask some questions. Now, the very first time I heard about theory of change, which is like probably 3 or 4 years ago, before I went on my course. No, that will have to be 3 years ago, before I went on my MA course. I went to a funding body. It's very huge. I'm not going to mention their name, because if I mention their name, people know them already. Very big funding organization. And I remember going to their office in North London, and I asked them, because I'd been hearing about theory of change, because I was making some applications at the time, and they were asking the client to provide a theory of change. They didn't know what it was, so they turned to me, and I didn't really understand it, because everyone I turned to give me a definition. Okay, what is this theory of change thing? Nobody could tell me. So I got to this office. I was excited to get to this office, thinking, okay, I'm in a funding organization. Surely they know about theory of change, and they're going to tell me what a theory of change is. And so, in my excited self, I asked them. I said to the lady who was speaking to me, I said, "What is theory of change?" And I've been hearing about this theory of change. And she waffled on about something, and she couldn't really explain it to me. And then she turned around to a young guy who was on his desk, kind of fiddling around on his computer. He said, "Roy, can you explain to Boomy what theory of change is?" And he mumbled up some nonsense, because I got so confused after hearing him speak. I left that place thinking, even these guys don't know what theory of change is. And it's only when I went on, watched some YouTube videos, then of course this theory of change came up on my course, and we did it, and I've read about it, and I understand it now. Of course I know about it now. I know what theory of change is. That's why I created my own definition of what theory of change is, which is a framework for creating, implementing, and evaluating planned change. So I know what it is. So now it's also called, theory of change is also called TOC. Sometimes you will see the words TOC, it means theory of change, hopefully depending on where you are, but it's more acceptable to be called a TOC. So it's used for evaluating, like I said, to evaluate your program. For example, all of you online today have actually delivered some, well, I think most of you have delivered some form of activities to certain beneficiaries. Now, question is, have you evaluated that activity? Because, you know, the more you can show a funder that, oh, the last time we evaluated our activity and this was our findings. Actually, you may not know this, but when you start receiving larger funds, like in the maybe like 100,000 or 80,000 or 200,000 in funding, a good chunk of that money, maybe 10 or 15% of that money, you are allowed to spend that percentage on evaluation, because funders consider evaluating your programs as a very important learning experience and a way for you to actually increase your effectiveness to your beneficiaries. So that tells us that evaluation is an important part of your project delivery. So in some shape or form, I'm hoping that after this teaching on theory of change, you are able to go back and evaluate some of the trainings you have delivered, even when, like I'm going to show you, you might hear things that you didn't want to hear. You might hear some kind of negative feedback from your beneficiaries, but it's all good. Trust me, it's all good. So the theory of change, you can use it for evaluating. Definitely, you can use a theory of change for planning. And the theory of change actually is a huge part, I wouldn't say, it's a significant part of what's called social return on investment. We won't get into that now, but social return on investment is where you apply a financial, it's like you apply a financial value to the benefits that your beneficiaries have received. Okay, but I'm just saying that because I want you to know that it's part of the theory of change is a significant part of the social return on investment, which is a very large method of placing financial value on benefits that people received. Okay, so that's a definition of theory of change. Let's go on and take another look. A theory of change demonstrates how planned activities will result in impact and outcomes. So let me define for you what impact is and what outcomes are. So using the example that we said before, which is you're teaching the elderly how to access social media or how to use social media, all right? So what would be the outcomes and what would be the what would you say are outcomes and what are impacts? Well, impact is the out there long-term, if you like, change that occurs in the lives of those older people. So therefore, they've gone from the impact could be they've gone from learning how to access and to use social media to now start developing websites, and they've actually gone on to facilitate some Zoom programs or training, and some of them have become more proficient on using the internet as a whole because of the training they received from you. That is impact. And that impact, you are not the only organization that will impact those older people. It could be that though they were taking your own course on social media, they were also attending a confidence building course with someone else, and they were attending a well-being course with someone else. So the combination of those three things, let's say, could be more than that, the combination of you teaching them social media, them attending a confidence building course, and also attending a well-being course has radically impacted their life so much that they are now much more confident in using the internet, and they've gone on to make changes in their lives that they never thought were possible. That is impact. Okay, what is outcome? Well, the outcomes are based on your own, if you like, your own interventions. So you have intervened in their lives and you've said, okay, let me teach you how to access Facebook. Let me teach you how to access or how to post your videos on YouTube. So within 6 months, when your program is, or a year, the outcome is that, okay, they are now able to upload videos. They are now able to access Facebook. They're now able to do all that. So that is your outcome. Now, whatever your program is, you need to measure, did we reach the outcomes that we wanted? And how has that therefore impacted the lives of the people that we're trying to help over a longer period? So, having a theory of change will help you to demonstrate that your planned activities actually worked. And sometimes your theory of change will help you to see that your planned activities did not work. And sometimes if you want to access funding, we're very concerned that our plans didn't work. But funders are aware that it's not everything you plan that will work. They're actually aware that some parts of what you plan to do will not work. But what have you learned from it? That's what's important. What have you learned, and what changes can you make based on the feedback you've received from your beneficiaries? Very important. Okay. I'm going to talk about on 2 more slides, and then we would be able to ask questions. Now, I'm going to end this section by saying what a theory of change is not. Sometimes I will show you the diagram next week, and not next week, next month when we come back, next time we come back. Sometimes people teach theory of change from a diagram flowchart perspective. In other words, they'll say, okay, a theory of changes, you'll have your inputs, or sometimes they might say input, you'll have your inputs, you'll have your activities, you'll have your mechanisms, you'll have your outcomes, and you'll have your impact. And as long as you have that in a diagram form, then that's your theory of change. Well, actually, no, because you can have a theory of change without putting it in a diagram. However, having a diagram is good. But what's more important is the process you have been through, the thought pattern that you have been through from thinking about your plan to thinking about how it will be implemented, and then to think about what outcomes you are going to have at the end of the day. So you could have a theory of change without a diagram, but you cannot have a theory of change without a process. So let me say that again. You could have a theory of change that is just text-based. So this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And this is the outcome we're expecting. You could have that without having a diagram. Well, having a diagram is good, but you don't have to. However, if you did not go through that process of thinking and asking the right questions about what you're delivering, who you're delivering it to, how the activities will work, what you expect, and how you expect your beneficiaries to feel whilst they're going through your activities. And if you don't have clear outcomes you're expecting, which is all the process, you will not have a good theory of change. So in other words, you can have a theory of change that is not a diagram, but you cannot have a theory of change, a good one anyway, without going through a process. So going through the process is extremely important. So far, I think I have endeavored to help you understand by definition what a theory of change is. It's just a framework. It's a way of thinking about your activities. And we're going to talk about some other things, why some useful benefits of it in a moment. But it's a very good framework for creating, implementing, and evaluating a planned change. Yeah. Okay. So let me pause for a moment, and I'm going to stop sharing and let you ask some questions before we go on to the benefits of a theory of change. Okay, let me stop. Any questions?
I was going to ask this question concerning giving feedback when you have a project that you are carrying out. Using a generic form, which sorts of sort of express just for them to tick. Maybe the last line you can give comment if you want. Tick what you think the level you are now, where you used to be. How do you
Yeah,
think the course goes? Were you satisfied and all that?
yeah.
Is that enough to sort of give a good feedback concerning your project that you are carrying out?
Yes, depending on, because when you're working on evaluating your project, depending on the size of people that you're sampling
Mm,
and the questions you're asking, what you have done for your project could be enough, because also
okay,
you don't want to overextend yourself financially or with the resources that you have. So such
okay,
surveys could just be good enough. However,
okay.
what I hope would help going forward when we get into the next time, when we get into the type of questions you should ask, is uh, if you heard this teaching before you created that survey, you might
Mm,
word the questions a little bit different.
okay,
If you were using a theory of change from the beginning, the kind of questions you will ask at the end may be slightly different. Maybe the same, but I will be hoping it will be a little bit different because you have thought through the outcomes that you want to see at the end.
okay.
So part of the theory of change is, okay, what outcomes are you actually going to evaluate? And are they the kind of outcomes you should evaluate? Or are there other outcomes you should seek to evaluate? Because sometimes, let me ask you a question. For example, on that survey,
Yes.
did you ask them whether they experienced any outcome that surprised them?
Not directly like that,
Okay,
you
because
know.
sometimes beneficiaries, they experience outcomes that somebody comes on a course to learn about Facebook, for example, and because of the confidence they received in Facebook, they went on to
Mm,
set up Instagram themselves without you asking them to do it. So that's a very
okay.
good outcome. But if you don't ask them, they may not tell you that.
Understand. Okay. It's like transfer of knowledge.
Yeah, it's like they transfer the knowledge to something else. And you wouldn't
Mm,
capture that. And that's a very good outcome for
okay.
you.
Good. Thank you.
Do you understand? Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah, your survey could be quite enough. Yeah. But it's just that this will help you
Okay.
to build on what you have done. Just no
It
problem.
could be anonymous.
Yes, it could be anonymous. Yeah, you could say, yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you. Okay. Any one more question before we go forward? Okay, let's move forward because of time. So let's continue to look at some of the benefits of a theory of change. So you probably can tell that there are other benefits to this framework. So I'm going to give you like I don't know 5 or 6. I'm going to talk about this 5 or 6 benefits, and I think that might Let's see how far we get. Like I've told you before, the number one reason why you do a theory of change is because it's fast becoming a funding requirement, actually. So fulfilling this requirement would put you above other applicants. Because I'm telling you, a lot of applicants are not doing a theory of change as part of their application process. The second thing is a unified focus. When you implement or when you go through the process of creating a theory of change with some of your volunteers, and you sit down in the beginning with your volunteers, I don't know how many hours you can spend, but whatever, spending sometimes better than not spending any. If you sit down with your volunteers and say, okay, let's decide on what we are planning to do, who we are planning to reach, how we're going to reach them, and the outcomes we're expecting. Let's all decide. Let's all talk about it now. You're going to have a unified focus. So the person delivering the program and the person sending out the survey and the person doing the admin, you're all working towards a particular goal, a particular aspect of the outcomes that you want to see. Unified focus, very critical to success in any business anyway. The third thing is beneficiaries buy-in. They say, and it's very true, that when you're creating your theory of change from the beginning, let's say you're just starting your project, you should include some information or feedback or thoughts from the beneficiaries that you're going to delivering the projects for. So in the example we gave, when you're doing your theory of change, when you're at the planning stage, that's when you should involve the older people, as the example we're using. You're involving the older people to contribute towards what the kind of activities they want and what kind of outcomes they themselves are looking for, what kind of change they want to experience in their lives. Because that gets you the beneficiaries buy-in from the beginning. And when beneficiaries buy in to the project that you're delivering from the beginning, they're more likely to participate in that activity rather than not. So beneficiaries buy-in is very important. Feedback for development and change. Every time you go to evaluate your project, what happens is you're going to get certain types of feedback. And because you get good and bad feedback, or what we might call challenging feedback or negative feedback, as well as positive ones, you are able to make changes and develop your activities for the next time. And then, very important, when you carry out your evaluation, you recognize opportunities that you never considered before. For example, in the example that we're using, in the example we're using with the older people, they may say, actually, from working on social media platforms like Facebook, I then learned about affiliate marketing. And you'll be like, what? Affiliate marketing? Yeah, I learned about affiliate marketing. That tells you that you should include affiliate marketing in your next course. In fact, now, if you're going to include affiliate marketing, it means really that you are helping people to start in business. Now, you may never have thought about that until you evaluated and somebody said something. You asked the right questions and somebody gave you an idea that enabled you to actually start working in that direction. Otherwise, you won't do it. So carrying out an evaluation as part of the process of the theory of change helps you to recognize new opportunities. And then finally, it helps you to reappropriate resources. It could be you're delivering, 2 or 3 courses. For example, the example we're using, you're teaching people on Facebook and on YouTube. And then you discover that 9 out of 10 of those you surveyed said they were not really conversant with YouTube and they didn't really like it. What does that tell you? Next time, don't bother for that group. Do something else, or change the way you deliver it, or just abandon it. Just focus on Facebook. If that were the case, maybe they didn't like it. Maybe they all said they didn't like it. I just didn't like. I don't like. Maybe they all said individually in their own words that they just don't like YouTube. That meant that all the resources you plowed into YouTube, you could have paid somebody to deliver the YouTube course, or you had invested not only time but effort in creating the materials for the YouTube course, but they just didn't like it. Next time, you might have to rethink that and reappropriate your resources in the right direction. So, for this for these 6 reasons, there is huge benefit of actually going through the process of creating a theory of change. Number 1, like I said, you fulfill funding requirements. Number 2, it gives you a unified focus. Number 3, it gets the stakeholders or beneficiaries buy-in. Number 4, you can use the feedback to develop and change your activities. Number 5, it will help you to recognize new opportunities. And number 6, it will help you to reappropriate your resources so that you continue to deliver where you are most efficient and where you're most effective. All right, I'm going to pause again and take some questions. And I think that probably be what we might cover for today. Okay, let's see how the questions go. Questions, please.
Can I say this? This is
Sure.
more like not on what we are doing now. I'm wondering if you can do, as time goes on, if you can do a course on how to sort of report into the funders. You know, have you planned that? You've done that when I'm not here?
We've done that, but we could do it again, because using the theory of change would enable us to report better.
Exactly.
When we first did the reporting, we did not use theory of change as part of the process.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I think it's worth it, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It gives you confidence as well.
That's true.
You know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You know, can you imagine if a funder calls you and they say, well, we've got your application, we want to find out how are you going to deliver this? And you say, oh, by the way, I've conducted a theory of change.
Wow. That sounds really interesting. And it seems you know what you are doing.
Yeah. They suddenly think, hang on, this person is different. Because generally speaking, it is large organizations that tend to do this, you know, and smaller grassroots organizations tend to ignore it or not know about it.
Okay.
But if you know about it now, you implement, it's going to stand you in good. Anyway, it's good for planning anyway.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
You know, so yeah.
The way you just said it now, it is like the theory of change. You get feedback before you start.
Yeah.
And ongoing, or maybe at the end at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah. When we get into the type of questions to ask and how to ask it as we go along, you will discover that it's a very useful tool to use.
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, before starting such maybe evaluation or so,
Mm-hmm.
do you depending on the population that your target population,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a target population, maybe the young or the elderly as the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get the population to carry out the evaluation on before starting
Okay, how do you get them to contribute
to contribute? So for
towards the
you to
theory of
sort
change?
exactly.
Okay, you can get them to contribute because they want to experience change.
Okay.
So let's say you are doing something for well-being, right?
Yes.
Somebody who wants to lose weight, for example, is more likely to contribute if you said, we're doing this well-being, lose weight, get fit program. We're planning to do a program around that. Could you please spend us 15 minutes to talk about what you would like to see, what changes you would like, and things like that? Yeah, they probably. But if you go and ask somebody else who wants to do social media about weight loss, they're not going to be interested. They're not going to come. They're not going to give any feedback because they're not interested in that.
No,
Okay,
the question
okay.
I'm trying to, okay, Martha, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how are you going to ask them? Is it like through survey? You conduct a survey and share it to them
You
through
can.
Facebook or through email?
You can. And any means through which you can get through to them. Sometimes
Okay.
even a phone call.
Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean those are the people we are going to do the training with. It can be anybody.
Yes, but yes, anybody can contribute who fits in to the target group that you're trying to reach.
Okay. Okay.
So there's no point asking elderly people questions that relate to the young people you want to reach. Do you understand? I'm
Okay.
just using that
Yeah.
as an extreme example.
Yeah.
You understand? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Owa?
Yes. I was still thinking of the population and for example, can you carry out a survey on a Facebook or like let me talk like a layman now. I want to
Yeah.
start up a project. I have a target population, but
Yeah.
I do not know how to source for I don't know how to go about getting people that's interested in that particular project I want to carry on, But I know there are some I can generally post, for example, in the Facebook, and it will reach a lot of people. So can I do such?
Yes, of course you can.
Okay.
Of course you can.
Okay.
You want to improve your understanding or increase your understanding of the subject matter and any means through which you can reach your target group. Because when we define what our target group is, which is part of the questions we're going to ask as we go through the steps, there are actually 7 steps or 10 steps to create a good theory of change or to go through a theory of change process. So one of the steps is about targeting the people you want to reach from the problem you want to solve.
Okay.
So that would help you to streamline those you speak to anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so so we're gonna stop and we'll pick it up when we come back again at the end of next month when we meet last Thursday of the month. So let's tell if you know other people that that are part of the group, let's let them know it's the last Thursday of every month.